Good evening, you beautiful people. I trust you are well. It is I, the Whiskey Novice, coming at you on a Monday evening. Yes, we're here to kick off what is pretty much the first of my Monday night malt samples. A thing that I wanted to kick off and intended kicking off quite a while ago, but just didn't happen due to time constraints. I just couldn't get it together. So it's come round to this. It is now Monday the 13th of March. The world is in turmoil, but we have whiskey, we have each other, so we'll see it through. We'll be all right. I'm seeing 15 people in, and for some strange reason, I'm not seeing comments. So if there are comments going on, I'm going to have to if you just keep chatting away, and we'll figure out why I'm not. I'm sure if there's 16 of you, there is commenting going on, but I ain't seeing it. I'm going to post a comment. YouTube, I ain't seeing it. YouTube doesn't support comments on private videos. Oh, I've still set this to private, have I? I think I may have set this up wrong. And I think, if you bear with me, ladies and gentlemen, I will try to fix it. Hold on. That should maybe be us now. Let's try this. Okay, I can see my own comments now. There's still 17 people in here, so I would imagine if there's chat coming about, it'll be in there somewhere. And we'll try and see if we can get this rolling on, because I don't want to hold this back. If it is there, I ain't seeing it. So I'm going to blather on for a minute. If you guys are chatting and can see chat, please join in. I'm not panicking yet, but click the right text, show comments. And Greg is telling me that yes, but my comments just are not. There we go. Thank you, Greg. Appreciate that. I don't know how I managed to get that one wrong, so I don't. But we're sorted now, finally. And so good to see so many of you in. Good Lord, this has all been going a bit daft while I couldn't see anything. So I'm just going to say hello to a few people before we move on. McCallum, Fine and Rare. Doc, good to see you. Luna, Aaron, very good to see you. Whiskey Shared, Toby, I'll get to you in a minute. Bryfree Sky, good to see you, Bry. Paul Gibbs, Steve A. The list goes on. Cresimir, good to see you. As I said before, I see so many of you guys. Multi-mission, Menno, good to see you. I see so many of you guys showing up in Roy's feeds, and it does my heart good to see you here at mine. Matt Cigars and Whiskey. Oh, so many of you. So good to see you. Al. Right, now let's get this back down. And there we go. Problem solved. Malt review, good to see you in. Right, here we go. Now we can move on. Yes, as I said, it is the world is in a bit of turmoil, but we've got whiskey, we've got each other. Let's just keep it amongst ourselves, shall we? Right, what are we doing tonight? Yes, Jim's Monday Malt Samples. This was something I wanted to start, and it was originally I was going to start at the start of this year, Jim's Sunday Samples or something I was going to call it. Didn't happen. Sundays just became a little too difficult for me to proceed with, but Mondays have now basically come up. So what is the idea? What's the plan behind this? Well, the question is, what do we do with our samples? I'm sure most of us out there, we share samples come in. You do with them what you will. I know personally I have a collection of them sitting at the back of my unit. Pardon me. And they sometimes get dipped into. Sometimes they don't. And even when I do drink them, I find maybe I'll take notes, but I don't always go back and tell the person who sent me the sample. The person who sent me the sample doesn't necessarily hear from me. So the feed keeps moving so fast. Thanks, Luna. That was the one I was trying to find there. Yes, they don't necessarily hear from me as to whether, you know, what I thought of that sample. And so to me, sometimes they just end up a little lost. And I don't think that's very fair. I think it's nice that we get the, you know, so what I do with these samples, whenever I do open one, is I generally will take notes over it. I don't like to review samples for the simple fact that, and tonight we're going to be looking, and I haven't opened one yet. I'll get to what I'm drinking in a minute. But I mean, and I'm not, you know, but generally, you know yourself that we're looking at bottles roughly of this size. So you get one, maybe 1.5 couple of drams at best out of it. I don't like to review based on that because I feel like I haven't interacted with the whiskey enough to justify it, to say, you know, here's what I like, here's what's good about this, here's what's bad about it. I like to have a full size bottle, at least 50 cl I can work on and get halfway through it. So rather than reviewing them, what I thought to myself was, well, I'll share them with the community. And I intend to do this once every fortnight on a Monday night, 9 p.m. GMT, and the hope that you can join us. And let's face it, do you remember 3 weeks ago when the world was normal? Well, that will return. And it'll be normal again. Just want to dive in here quickly before I move on. A few other names popping in. Chris Moore, good to see you. Billy Saunders, didn't know what I was saying a little minute ago. Whiskey friend Alan, good to see you. Bud Jenkins is in from America. Good to see you, my friend. James Burgoyne, good to see you guys. They say there's anybody I missed. Hello to you all. I really, really appreciate you being here. So, Lee J. Brown, hello. What am I drinking? Well, Toby at Whiskey Shared sent me some samples quite a while ago. Him and I traded samples, and the reason why I picked his first are because I've been dying to get into them. And this, as I say, this idea has been in my head to do this live feed for nearly 3 months now. But because it didn't happen on a Sunday, I didn't think it was going to happen at all. But I've just been mad keen to get into these. And first of all, what we're going to be looking at is Glenfarclas, 25-year-old, the Scotch Whisky Auctions 100 auctions celebration bottle. Now, that's not what I have in my glass. What I have in my glass right now is Glenfarclas 10, which I'm warming up with because it's the only other Glenfarclas I have. And it's been a while. So I just thought, now's the time to do it. Toby just said something there. I just happened to notice it. And I couldn't agree more. The whisky community is amazing. And the whisky community is amazing. I totally agree. Especially, I know Dan at the Somerton Whisky Club shared something last night where he was talking about in times like these when so many people are housebound maybe and just we're he was saying about, right here, people, here's some video producers you should watch, here's some whiskey producers you should watch, videos that they do on YouTube and whatnot. And I thought it was just a lovely idea, and he's put together a list and he's going to put this out on his website and say, look, people, if you've nothing to do, give this a watch. And I think it's a very clever idea. So this is to say is just me doing a wee live thing starting now, and we're going to move on from that. This is, as I said, the 10-year-old. Luna Arn has just come back and said that she's got the 25-year-old as well. So I'm going to hold off on opening that for a second. Say holding it. I have it poured and capped. But what we're looking at tonight, as I say, is going to be the Glenfarclas 25-year-old Scotch Whisky Auctions. One was bought in 2019, 51% ABV, which was celebrating the 100 auctions. There was only 900 bottles of it released. And now that I've warmed the palate a little, with the 10-year-old, I'm going to set that aside and uncover the 25-year-old. One of Roy's is covering that currently. And it just comes to life. This is it's a very, very bright whiskey. I mean, Glenfarclas is sort of, I find, a kind of typical, well, I know it says Highland on there, but we all know there's Speyside, but it's kind of typical Speyside that some of those richer notes. Now, this is finished. This is actually matured in a mixture of first, second, and third fill Oloroso sherry butts. And where you would expect that usual sherry thing. I mean, there's a sherry thing off Glenfarclas. This is different. This is the first time I've put my nose in this. And it's quite a bit brighter. I'm hoping that Luna is going to be, and Toby was going to be trying it as well, because it'll be interesting to see what the others think. There is a slight there's a slight fusty note of it. Sorry, I just noticed Luna's comment. Wax top. Don't panic, Luna. I'm in no hurry here. And now Alan, the whiskey friend's going to jump in as well. Excellent, because the more people we can get jamming along here, the more ideas I can get from what you're tasting, because I like to know. You know, and I think we all do, don't we? That we just, you know, we all suggest one thing when we're tasting something, but it can be what you taste and what I taste can be totally different. This, as I say, has got a slightly fusty, funky note off it to me. Quite fresh, a little soapy. But then doesn't everything smell soapy at the minute because we spend our time washing our hands? So. Menno's just opened a single cask Glenfarclas 11-year-old last weekend. He says, not to be called shy whiskey. This is to say bottled at 51%. So once again, not shy. Slight biscuity cereal note I would say. There is a soapy hint to it, which is quite bizarre. I'll say first, second, and third fill sherry butts. Tobacco and orange. It's good. Yeah, Luna's saying fresh and cereal driven. It certainly is. There's definitely fruit. I would say orange, but there's a mintiness in there as well, I think. Greg's just saying here, Greg's Whiskey Guide. I'm not sure just yet, but him and I are doing a live tomorrow night for our live special St. Patrick's. Unfortunately, it has all gone a little wrong in that because of what's going on in the world. The samples he sent me and the samples I sent him didn't reach their destinations, as far as we know. So unless anything happens tomorrow, we will have something to drink. But join us live at please at 8:30 GMT, 9:30 of course Europe, and we'll see in St. Patrick. This could be the first year where most of Ireland's sober. Right, here we go. Cheers. Yep. Yep. It's punchy. It's hot. That cereal note is still there. Toby's saying he got that cereal note, and it's there. It translates through to the palate, I think, as well. Chris at the last drop saying there he's just poured his mellow corn sample. I hope you enjoy that, my friend. There's something about mellow corn I really like. That is a nice drop, very much so. Let's get some water in there. See what it does. Yeah, Luna's saying something musty, sawdust notes. I totally agree. But remarkably fresh for a 25-year-old. Hers only has 43%. What's is that a different bottling that wasn't maybe the Scotch Whisky Auctions one? Because I know there was quite a few 25-year-olds, I think, about. Was there not? Maybe I'm wrong there. Yes. Toby's saying here, yep. Lovely and sweet in the palate. Yeah, totally agree. I mean, as I say, there's a dusty thing. Fruity, fresh, tropical fruit, Lewis saying. Could agree with that as well. Peach. Yep. I'd certainly suggest peach. It's kind of peppery, but as Toby has actually suggested there a minute ago, and I would agree with him. It's there's burn, there's pepper with it, but it's an easy drinker too. So it doesn't fight you for 51%. It's held itself together well for 25 years too. Thank you very much for this, Toby. I appreciate that. So, how are we all doing out there? Are we all keeping all right? I sincerely hope we are, and that that all of you are doing well and getting through this. The mayhem, as I say, will abate, and we will live through another one. Yeah, Roy's saying here, Roy, good evening. Not a typical St. Patrick's tomorrow, but at least we've got tubes. And as I say, I will be joining Greg's Whiskey Guide tomorrow evening for a bit of a drinky. So there'll be plenty of it about. Yes, that's incredibly palatable. Actually, Toby, Luna, who's sipping along, and Luna's right. She's just suggested it needs some air. I think she's right. It also needed. It took a bit of water for me. It genuinely did. I'm actually going to let that sit with the lid off and air a moment, and go back to my 10-year-old Glenfarclas, which is totally different. Totally different. Radex in. Good to see you, my friend. The body, the difference in body between the 25-year-old and the 10-year-old is noticeable. Yeah. Yeah, the 10-year-old falls very, very short of that mark. Always been a good, easy sipper for me, the Glenfarclas 10-year-old. Good to see that the old techniques still being used there. I mean, they're still using direct heat. They're still using dunnage warehousing, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. But that Glenfarclas 10-year-old, very, very shy of the mark after the 25. I suppose it's to be expected. I mean, your difference in ABV alone is just black and white. But I'm more surprised that there wasn't a whole lot of the 10 in that 25 whatsoever. This is the 25 here. And you would think there would be something of a flavor profile that would carry through. But it sort of tends to go a bit flat. Oh. Hmm. I'm slightly flushed tonight because I was freezing earlier. Put the heating on. I'm sitting right beside the radiator, and then when it all went wrong at the start, I couldn't see the comments. I reached the temperature and I just haven't come back down again. Yeah, 10-year-old just goes flat after that 25. Toby says he finds it very fruity but tannic. Yeah. Yeah, the finish is quite tannic. There's a leather, very, very definite leather note off it there. Lovely dram. It really is. I sort of wish I had more to talk to you about rather than me just sitting sipping whiskey. I suppose that's what we're here doing, sitting sipping whiskey together, friends, etc. But I sort of feel like as if I should have prepared something. Very, very good. Very good indeed. Whoops. There we go. Yes, Luna thinks she's found new leather on it. New leather, yes. Yep. It's weird. It was whenever I left it and come back to it. Paul Gibbs. Damn it, quiz. That's what I should. What a good idea. Wish somebody else had thought of that. Roy. Oh, Roy. Why do you not make a quiz up amongst yourselves? Sorry, I'm seeing a bit of chat going on here in the background. And I see chat about posting backward and forward. And this is what has happened regarding myself and Greg's whiskey guide tomorrow night. As I say, he had, and we gave them good timing. I mean, I sent Luna a parcel a couple of weeks back, and sent the same one, sent a similar one to Greg on the same day, and Luna received hers in the middle of last week, and Greg never received his. And Greg did the same, sent me stuff, and it would appear, and I'm sincerely hoping not, because there is he's shown me what he has sent, and there's some great stuff in it, and it has got lost currently. Now I'm hoping that it's not lost, and that we'll be able to get it back, but it is just part of the mayhem, isn't it, at the moment, that it's just not worth, for me, it's not worth risking. I was due to send samples out to Billy Saunders, who's in, and I contacted him earlier and said that. I said, really, because I just want to ensure that people get this. If I'm going to send them samples, I would rather they got them. That's what it's all about, and I would definitely recommend, probably now is not the right time to be sending samples. Drink what you've got, enjoy it, but I just don't think it's worth losing, personally speaking. So we're back, just went back to that 25. It sat here for a moment or two with a bit of air at it. The fruit becomes fruitier, becomes fresher. That leather tone tends to die down a bit again, and very, very nice, very fresh, very fruity. What I'm actually going to do is, while I'm chatting, get sample number 2 poured, and pour myself a little change, because I want to try. I'm trying something different here that I haven't tried. So the samples are getting the Roy treatment. So I'll cap that one again. I'm capping the new one for now. The 25 had and I'm actually pouring myself, pardon me, and it's going to get the no nonsense whiskey treatment to cover it. But I'll tell you what my next sample is going to be. It is going to be, and this is one I haven't tried anything of them, and yet again it's from Toby, the Glen Scotia Victoriana. And what I'm going to pour myself is a little Springbank 10. because it's the closest that we've got. Because I read, or I heard other people talking, and I've heard description of the Glen Scotia stuff. And people saying that it's not so much a Springbank funk as a Campbelltown funk. So anybody, any ideas on that or suggestions as to what they think about it? That I would always have considered there being a Springbank funk. I haven't tried Glen Scotia, so it'll be new to me. But as I say, I've heard people suggest that it's actually more a Campbelltown thing rather than just being a Springbank thing on its own. Roy is suggesting a wee sneaky party beforehand. I'm sure we could be up for that. We'll see what tomorrow night brings. I'm just going to go back into the feed here for a moment and see what people are saying, because as I have heard this before about a Campbelltown funk. Greg is saying yes. This is the Springbank. I've got my nose in at the minute. Now, there's a smoky thing in this that I had never noticed before, and it's maybe just coming from the Glenfarclas. I'm not quite sure, because I'd never noticed the smokiness before on the Springbank. But it's weird. It's like a menthol smokiness, if that makes sense. I'm not quite sure myself. You see what you've done, Roy? You see what you've done? It's too late now. Yes, Luna's saying that, yes, I imagine, well, I would like to think they'll be totally different, but it's just more, I was trying to find a funk and see if that is something that rings through. So, Scotia Victoriana, as I say, this is my first dip into Glen Scotia at all. And yeah, green. It smells green, fresh green leaves. Yeah, fresh green leaves. Now, as I say, this just doesn't, there's no comparison whatsoever between the Springbank and the Glen Scotia. But as I say, it was just more so to see if I could find something, a note that rang true of them both. But this Glen Scotia, I'm going to let that sit and get a little air to it and work on my Toby's saying he's getting salted caramel. Yeah, I could see that, but there's something in it for me, and it's a yet again it's an immediate memory whiskey for me there, because it's where I grew up. There was a forest right beside. I grew up in a housing estate, but there was a forest right beside it. The old foresters used to use, and it was predominantly pine forest, and that smells like pure pine sap to me, as the one that's leaping out to me on that. And you know what? I don't know whether I'm convincing myself, but I genuinely think there is a little something in both of them that pulls them together slightly. Springbank 10. It was my first Springbank, and one I think I'll always have in my collection, and one I'll always love. Rich, soft, fruity, woody are probably all words that I never used whenever I was reviewing it. Yes, Toby's saying there's 3 different batches. This was was this the batch 1, was it? I wasn't 100% sure. This is bottled at 54.8%. I suppose I should have mentioned that. And they make the big point of the fact that it's finished in deep charred oak casks. So Finn's in. Nice to see you, my friend. But yes, I still get wood sap or pine sap and wood. Now I know that maybe they clash, but you know what I'm saying. There's a definitive there that there's pine sap, strong pine sap, but there's also an oakiness or something behind it as well. There's another wood. And isn't it funny that, Toby, who yet again can't thank him enough, shared this with me, gets salted caramel, which I'm under the power of suggestion. I would say yes, but I wouldn't have picked that out. Luna said Christmas cake and cream, yet again. Wouldn't have said so, but under the power of suggestion, I can see exactly what she means. Just you missed it, Vin. You're covering the Springbank, by the way. It's a very, very definite nose. One that I've never had so definitive on anything else. It's fresh, it's bright. Here we go. Oh, that's nice. Ooh, it's also hot. Flattens very quick. Now I'm going to add a little of the wet stuff because that flattened very, very quickly on the finish, and it feels like as if there's more going on than sipping it neat wants to give up there. That, if you know what I'm saying, that just felt a bit flat. So I'm going to give that a second with a drop of water and some air. I'll go back to the Springbank 10, go back to the chat, see what I've missed. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That was my whiskey tasting impression, by the way. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He's not in the night, so nobody tell him. Good to see so many of you still here. It really is. And, as it's been said recently, especially over the last few days, we're all right. You know what's going on. Everybody's got their own view on it. I'm just slightly nervous that I'm going to have my kids for 16 weeks. Obviously, me and here, I mean, I have them. The thing is, I have them every day from after school until, and then when I can't say too much because Mrs. Novice gets up and every morning and gets them ready for school. I get the homework end of things and the dinner end of things. And then when I go to work at night, she takes over again. But just all day for 16 weeks. There's an interesting question. Anybody? Because that is... Here's one for you. Now, I sent Luna a selection of sweets, if you're other side of the Atlantic, candies recently, just to give her an idea of some flavour profiles that we'll tend to throw out from time to time. You know, we really, Alan? Really? Anyway, yes, we throw out these terms. Pear drops is one that we've used quite a bit. So I sent Luna some pear drops, and among other things. And that's a good question that Luna has asked Toby, and Toby has actually come back, and I would agree with him too that he says one is more creamy. I would actually agree. Yes. Now, what was it? Toffee and caramel? Did you ask, Luna? Because yes, toffee and caramel. If it were me, I would actually say then that caramel is more creamy, and I could see the difference. Now, another one that I find on an awful lot of whiskies, and I was drinking something last night. Rock Oyster cask strength. I was drinking last night, and I find one on it, and I don't know whether or how available it is around the country. But it was a chocolate bar called Caramac, and it was like a mixture between toffee and chocolate, but it wasn't toffee in chocolate. This was caramel flavored chocolate, and Caramac is something I tend to nearly would put it to something that's a mixture between peated and sherried. There's another one that is thrown out, Toffee, and it's a very creamy toffee. Because now, the longer this has sat in the glass with the air at it, this is still the Victoriana. This is starting to show that Caramac thing, which Toby suggested. Now, deep charred oak cask is how they tell you it's. I don't know what else is involved in this. But no, I certainly wouldn't say there's. Well, there is a caramel. There's caramel at the back of the palate, but the finish still goes very flat, very quick, I think. If anybody can get their hands on Caramac these days, I don't think the shelves have been stripped bare of Caramac. But if they can, it certainly is one worth trying because you know, as James Burgoyne was saying, it was a childhood favourite. It's a flavour that I always remember, one that pulls back very quick with something. And as I say, it always reminds me something whenever I taste. It tends to be something that's heavily peat and sherry mixed, peat and sherry blend. To me, reminds me of Carmack. This Victoriana becomes floral. Yes, it's definitely floral, sweet around the edges. Surprised how flat that finish goes for me anyway. Very, 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 very short. Now, Luna's either never had ceramic or, but I would dare say she knows exactly what she's saying. Yeah, lovely nose in this. Lovely nose, deep, rich. See, becomes slightly floral, slightly woody. But Toby's saying he finds it smoky and peppery. It is quite peppery, yes, I would agree there, but it just goes very quickly, I find. Delivers a lot, brings a lot to the party, and then buggers off quickly. Brifey Sky, I think he's talking to me there about this about the Carmacks. Uh, See if I see them. I'll just buy a job lot, send them out to the whole lot as soon as the mayhem's over. We shall live by Carmack alone. I think they came from Nestle. I could be wrong. I think they were Nestle Carmack. You could imagine. You could imagine the panic and the delight that Nestle would go into if Carmack started flying off the shelves at the same rate as toilet paper. And the dog, yes, you see, this is the difference, I think, between caramel and toffee, because a lot of people uh, do consider toffee as being that the hard uh, butter toffee. Well, as Doc McAlpine Rare saying here, the Werther's hard fudge soft sugar driven. So caramel's a component, and the other two, yes. And you know, it's one of those things that it just yet again to each of us, it's something different. But that is a very very fine point that the dog has made there. That the hard thing, toffee, you know, because toffee can be hard. Caramel, I would say no. And then who decided to add salt to it? Whose idea was that? Let's put a drop of salt in there. See how that works. The longer I set that, the better it gets, the longer the finish gets. I'm actually going to let that sit and get a little more air on it. Go back to my Springbank bottle, of course, at 46%, and see what a Springbank tastes like after the Glen Scotia. Sweeter, softer, more mandarin, I would suggest. Creamier. But it definitely is still a great dram. Chris, the last drop. Are you serious? I mean, I'm not being cheeky when I ask that, but is it because I know you like different spirits, etc. So I'm just literally asking the question: is this a thing that I've missed? Malcolm Douglas is in. Good to see you, my friend. Just anybody that's joined of late, welcome to Jim's Monday Malt Samples. This is pretty much the kick-off night. It all went a bit Pete Tong earlier on. I mean, it sorted itself out. What I was sampling was a couple of samples from Toby at Whiskey Shared. And first of all was a Glenfarclas 25-year-old, the Scotch Whisky Auctions edition. And now we've moved on to Glen Scotia, Victoriana, and just general chit chat, just to keep us all seeing and in the loop. Of course, this is a Springbank 10-year-old. Hard to whack, isn't it? Springbank 10. Very, very hard to beat. So, first of all, Billy Saunders asking what plans for tomorrow. Tomorrow is in shutdown, basically. I should be gigging tomorrow night. It's the biggest night in the Irish calendar, and the bars are closed. So it's a dry night for Ireland. Somebody said, watch out, the rest of the world, Ireland is sober. But the plan is that Greg's Whiskey Guide and I are doing a St. Patrick's Day live tomorrow night. Greg is, and I am his guest. So if you feel like you haven't had enough Whiskey Novice tonight, then you can get me tomorrow night again. Chris, yes, he's seen a blog somewhere about the salt. It does certainly seem like an interesting concept, not one that would necessarily be well, you know, don't knock it till you've tried it. Right, back to the Glen Scotia, because I would like to try and keep these feeds to within an hour if possible. I know it's pulling up quite short compared to an awful lot of the other live feeds and live streams, but I'll be back tomorrow night with Greg, and I don't want to overdo it either. And I mean, I'll not always be necessarily trying two drams in a night. I might just do one. Let's get your Van Pobs in. Good to see you, buddy. Better late than never. You've got about 5 minutes. Greg reckons you can beat the Springbank 10, but only with the 15. The best, and I'm gonna put myself out there and say it, the best whiskey I have yet to try personally now. And remember, I am still a novice. I'm not just playing on that name. I am still a novice. And I haven't been doing this long compared to you guys in the feed. Everybody in here is at this longer than I am, I would imagine. But the best one I've had, I was in Edinburgh last year. I have family in Edinburgh, and we were over visiting last year. And my brother-in-law over there took me to a little pub in just the end of the Royal Mile. The name escapes me right now. And the Jolly Judge, there you are. It comes straight back to me. And it's just a little basement bar. But this was early last year, and I was even more green to whiskey then than I am now. I've learned an awful lot from you lot in the last year and from drinking whiskey. But I had a Springbank 21-year-old, a dram of it. And I was just, I think I had my first, and I'm going to use the word whiskey-gasm. And it was in public too. It was terribly embarrassing. And it was just one of those moments that I just I would love a bottle of Springbank 21. Of course I would, but I just couldn't afford one. I mean, even that dram, I can't remember how much I paid for it. I had a few prior to it. Greg has asked the question here, was it a recent one or 1990s one? I am not 100% sure, Greg. Oh, sorry, called up the wrong one. I'm not 100% sure. It was before I started taking pictures of bottles of whiskey on a bar and stuff like that. You know, I was still in the early days of learning. But what I will say is, as a result of that one trip, I discovered some fantastic whiskies. I mean, before that visit to that bar, I hadn't tried Kilchoman. I hadn't tried. I actually made a list that day just from what the drams I was drinking, and I will get back to it at some point. Definitely will. Hopefully, if things work themselves out and sort themselves out this year, I will be for a day trip to Islay in June, hopefully. July, as long as things sort themselves out, I'm going to Scotland and Campbelltown. I've trips planned to Glen, or a few others. And I just so sincerely hope this all sorts itself out. Because I really want to do that pilgrimage. I want to go. Edredor was another one that I'm hoping to visit. Maybe Deanston. I have to remember that it's a family holiday. Look, this was interesting. It was enjoyable, very, very enjoyable for me. Slightly stressful at the start. It's all going to sort itself out. The more I do this, I'm hoping the better I get at it. I am progressing. I'm hopefully moving on. I now have Patreon running, a Patreon account, and I've picked up a few patrons. Toby, who sent me these, is one of them, joined recently there, and I can't thank you all enough for that. But I can't thank everybody enough. It's just, you are all so kind. It's just such a great community. My wife, my wife usually goes to a class on a Monday night, and this is why Monday nights were picked to do this live feed. And I come back. Yes, she came back to me yesterday and says my class has been cancelled until further notice. To which I thought, well, of course it has. You know, there's me getting into my first live. But I mean, that I could understand. Obviously, everything's the way everything is. And she said to me earlier in the day when she came home from work, will I see you tonight? And I says, well, once I've spoken to my friends, then I'll be out with you. You know? And this is something that I love about this community, as I keep describing it to other people who aren't in here. The best friends I've never met, you know, and that's the way I feel about it, and that's the way I think I'll continue to feel about it. So anyway, I'm going to call it a night at that. If you don't mind, I'm going to go and speak to the good Mrs. Novice, say hello and probably good night very soon, because she'll be off for work, I'll be off for the kids. And as I say, if you want more, Greg's Whiskey Guide, live tomorrow night, 8:30 GMT, 9:30 Europe. Don't ask me what that is across the water, across the pond. For now, I will give you my usual farewell. I will say thank you so much. Really, really appreciate you being here. Thank you to Toby for sharing these samples with me. Thoroughly enjoyed them. I will be back, unless anything changes, in 2 weeks' time, when I will be looking at some Kilkerran. Yes, I have some Kilkerran, and we all like Kilkerran, don't we, children? Here's to your good health. Cheers.